Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive into the world of cybersecurity.
Mm.
We've been talking about all sorts of things, and today we're going to zero in on incident response.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things you hope you never need, but when things get crazy, you're really glad you got it.
Absolutely.
We're going to be like breaking down some fascinating insights from Texcali today.
Okay.
So we're going to figure out what incident response is, why it's so important, and then how it all works in the real world.
Sounds good.
So are you ready to unpack this with us?
Absolutely. I think this is a fascinating topic because it really brings together so many different elements. We're talking tech, we're talking strategy, planning, even a bit of psychology.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
I'm into it. So first things first, what is incident response? We hear it all the time.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean practically?
I think a great way to think about it is it's a structured playbook for dealing with cyber attacks or security breaches, right?
Yeah.
It's not about panicking and scrambling when something goes wrong.
Right.
It's a systematic process that helps organizations detect, contain, and eradicate threats, and they have to do it quickly and efficiently.
So it's like having a fire drill, but for the digital world.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And just like a fire drill, preparation is key. You don't wait for a fire to start figuring out your escape route, right?
Right.
Same applies to cyber attacks.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So Texcali highlights three major reasons why having a strong incident response plan is so critical.
Okay.
Damage limitations at the top of that list. So can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure. A swift and well-executed response can significantly reduce the impact of an attack. We're talking about minimizing financial losses, preventing sensitive data from falling into the wrong hands, and safeguarding the organization's reputation.
So it's like containing a wildfire before it spreads and scorches everything in its path.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of containing damage, that leads right into the second reason, which is business continuity.
Uh-huh.
Because a cyber attack can just bring everything to a screeching halt.
Oh, absolutely.
Websites down, systems locked, and
Yeah.
suddenly you're just dealing with chaos.
Yeah, and disruption.
Yeah.
Exactly. And incident response is about minimizing that disruption and getting things back up and running as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Imagine, a major retailer getting hit with ransomware right before a huge sale.
Oh.
Without a solid plan, it could cripple their operations for days, costing them a fortune and damaging their customer relationships.
That's like the nightmare scenario
It is a nightmare scenario.
for any business.
For sure.
And the third reason that the source highlights is regulatory compliance.
Ah, yes, the dreaded regulations.
Right.
But they're there for a reason. Many industries have these strict rules about data security and incident reporting.
Yeah.
Failing to comply can result in hefty fines and legal battles, not to mention reputational damage.
It's like that saying, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure, except in cybersecurity, it might be more like a ton of cure.
I like that analogy. I like that a lot.
A robust incident response plan can demonstrate to regulators that you're taking security seriously and you have the measures in place to protect sensitive data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just good practice, it's often a legal requirement and can save you a whole lot of trouble down the line.
For sure.
Okay, so let's get into how incident response works.
Right.
Texcali describes it as a cycle with several stages.
Right.
And the first one is preparation. It sounds like it involves a lot more than just setting up some fancy tech tools.
Yeah, it's about people as much as it's about technology. You need a comprehensive plan
Okay.
that outlines roles, responsibilities, procedures, and yes, the right tools for the job.
So who does what, when, and how?
Exactly.
Sounds like you need a cleared chain of command, especially when things are getting, stressful.
Absolutely. And training is a critical part of preparation. Everyone on the team needs to know what to do if an incident is suspected, how to communicate effectively, and how to stay calm under pressure.
It's like practicing for a play.
Yeah.
You rehearse your lines, know your cues,
Right.
so that when that curtain rises, you can perform flawlessly, even if you get butterflies in your stomach.
I love that. And just like a theater production needs a stage and props.
Yeah.
Effective incident response relies on setting up robust detection systems.
Okay.
This is where tools like SIM and EDR come into play.
Okay, time for a mini tech deep dive.
A little bit.
SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management.
Yes,
And EDR is Endpoint Detection and Response.
that's right.
So I'm guessing these aren't your average antivirus software.
You're right. They're far more sophisticated. Think of SIM as your central nervous system for security. It collects and analyzes data from all sorts of sources across your network logs, firewalls, servers,
Okay.
looking for patterns and anomalies that might indicate an attack.
So it's constantly monitoring and analyzing, like a digital detective searching for clues.
Precise.
And EDR focuses specifically on endpoints, like laptops, desktops, and mobile devices.
Yeah.
It monitors activity on those devices, looking for signs of malicious behavior like malware or data being, exfiltrated.
Exactly.
So you've got SIEM as the big picture overseer and EDR as the close-up investigator,
I like it.
both working together to detect those early warning signs.
Right. But even with the best preparation and detection systems in place, incidents can still happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That takes us to the next stage, detection and analysis.
Okay, so the alarm bells are ringing. What happens next?
Well, this is where those security tools we talked about, SIEM and EDR, really shine.
Okay.
They're designed to detect and flag unusual events or activities that might indicate an attack. It could be a surge in network traffic, a suspicious login attempt from an unusual location,
Oh, yeah.
or a file being accessed at an odd hour.
It's like having a motion sensor that triggers when someone tries to break into your house.
Perfect analogy. But it's not enough to just know that something is up.
Right.
We need to understand the nature of the attack, its origin, and its potential impact. This is where the analysis comes in. It's like piecing together a puzzle
Okay.
to figure out what happened, who might be responsible, and how extensive the damage might be.
So you're gathering evidence, analyzing the attack vectors, and trying to determine the scope.
Yeah.
It sounds like some serious detective work.
It absolutely is. And the faster we can understand what we're dealing with, the faster we can move to the next crucial stage, containment.
All right, so you've detected an attack and you're starting to understand what you're up against. So what's the priority at this stage?
Containment is all about stopping the spread and limiting the damage.
Okay.
It's like a digital quarantine. You're isolating the infected systems to prevent the virus, so to speak, from spreading to the rest of your network. This might involve disconnecting affected devices, blocking specific IP addresses, or shutting down certain services.
So it's like damage control, trying to prevent the situation from spiraling.
Absolutely.
What happens once you've contained the threat?
That's when we move on to eradication.
Okay.
This stage is all about removing the malicious software or elements from the affected systems.
So you're scrubbing the systems clean, getting rid of any lingering malware or traces of the attack.
Yeah.
What tools are used in this phase?
Well, it depends on the nature of the threat. We might use anti-malware software to remove the malicious code, or we might need to completely wipe the hard drive and reinstall the operating system from a clean backup.
It sounds like digital surgery, removing the infected parts and making sure everything is clean and healthy again.
That's a great way to put it. Once we've eradicated the threat, we move on to the recovery phase.
Okay, so you've detected, contained, and eradicated the threat.
Right.
This is where you can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
You could say that, yeah.
Everything's good?
Recovery is all about getting things back to normal, restoring any lost or compromised data from backups, and bringing your systems and services back online. It's like rebuilding after a natural disaster.
Okay.
Getting things back to a functional state.
I imagine that's a complex process, especially if you're dealing with a large organization.
Absolutely, yeah.
With tons of data and interconnected systems. Are there any, particular challenges that come up during this phase?
One of the biggest challenges is ensuring that the restored systems are actually clean and free of any lingering malware or vulnerabilities.
Yeah, you don't want to bring everything back online just to have it
Exactly.
again.
That would be like rebuilding your house on top of unstable foundations. It's crucial to make sure everything is solid before you move back in.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so that brings us to the final stage of the incident response cycle.
Okay.
Learning.
Yes.
So the immediate crisis is over, systems are back up and running.
Right.
Why is learning so important at this point? Why not just move on?
Well, the learning stage is all about analyzing what happened, identifying what worked well, and figuring out what could be improved.
Okay.
It's about turning a negative experience into a valuable learning opportunity to strengthen your defenses and be even more prepared for future threats.
So it's like a post-game analysis for your cybersecurity team. You review the plays, identify weaknesses, and come up with strategies to improve your game plan for next time.
Exactly. And here's a fascinating fact. Studies show that organizations that regularly review their incident response plans after an attack are significantly less likely to be successfully targeted again.
Oh, wow.
So it really does make a difference.
That makes perfect sense. You're essentially learning from your mistakes and making sure you don't repeat them.
Exactly. The world of cyber threats is constantly evolving.
Oh, for sure.
So the learning stage is crucial for staying ahead of the curve and adapting your defenses to meet new challenges.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here,
Yeah, we have.
from preparation and detection to eradication and recovery. But I'm curious, are there benefits to having a strong incident response plan that go beyond just like dealing with those threats?
That's a great question, and you're right. There are benefits that extend beyond just the immediate crisis.
Whew.
A robust incident response plan can actually have a positive impact on an organization's reputation and even its bottom line.
Now that's intriguing. I'm eager to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But we're running a bit short on time for this segment.
Okay.
So let's take a quick pause here. When we come back in part 2, we'll delve deeper into those less obvious benefits of a solid incident response plan and explore some real-world examples of how it all comes together in practice.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
All right.
Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about some of the less obvious advantages of having a strong incident response plan.
Right.
And you mentioned that it can actually boost a company's reputation. So how does that work?
Well, I think it's all about transparency and demonstrating competence. When an organization handles a cyber incident openly and effectively, it shows they take security seriously and are committed to protecting their customers' data.
So it's not just about fixing the problem. It's about communicating clearly and honestly with stakeholders. It's
Exactly.
hey, something happened, but we've got this, and here's what we're doing about it.
Exactly. That builds trust and reassures customers, investors, and even regulators that you're in control and taking the right steps to mitigate the damage. Think about companies that have had high-profile data breaches and handled them poorly.
Yeah.
They often face a huge public backlash, lawsuits, and long-term reputational damage.
It's like a PR nightmare on top of a cybersecurity crisis.
Exactly. But companies that have a solid incident response plan in place and can demonstrate a swift and transparent response often come out of these situations with their reputation intact or even strengthened.
So they're seen as responsible and trustworthy, even though they experienced a security incident.
Precisely. And speaking of trust, a robust incident response plan can also play a key role in demonstrating regulatory compliance.
Okay.
We touched on this earlier, but how does it help organizations navigate that complex landscape?
Well, we talked about how many industries have those strict regulations about data security and incident reporting.
Right.
And having a documented plan, trained teams, a proven ability to respond effectively shows regulators that you're taking security seriously.
Absolutely.
And you're meeting those requirements.
It's like having a well-organized filing system. When the auditors come knocking, you can show them you have everything in order.
Right.
You know what you're doing, and you're prepared for any situation.
And that can make a big difference when it comes to avoiding fines, penalties, or even legal action.
Absolutely. It's about proactively demonstrating compliance rather than scrambling to catch up after an incident.
So rather than just being a cost, a solid incident response plan is an investment in an organization's overall resilience.
Yeah.
And can even save them money in the long run.
Exactly. It's about being prepared, mitigating risk, and safeguarding your assets, operations, and reputation.
Okay, so our source material from Texcali has given us a really comprehensive overview of incident response.
Yeah.
But can you give us a real-world example
Absolutely.
of how this all plays out practically?
Let's imagine a scenario where a company discovers that one of their employees' computers has been infected with malware through a phishing email. Their IT team immediately springs into action following their well-defined incident response plan.
So they've detected a potential security incident,
Right.
and now they're moving into that containment phase.
Exactly. The first priority is to prevent that malware from spreading further. They quickly isolate the infected computer from the network, like putting it in a digital quarantine. This might involve disconnecting it from the internet, blocking its access to shared servers, or even physically removing it from the office.
It's like containing a hazardous material spill, making sure it doesn't contaminate the surrounding area.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. While this is happening, the team also uses their security tools, like that SEM and EDR we discussed, to analyze the malware and determine its capabilities. They might discover that it's a type of ransomware that encrypts files and demands a payment to unlock them.
Oh no, that's like the nightmare scenario.
It is.
For any company.
Yeah. It can cripple their operations and potentially cost them a fortune.
Oh, yeah.
But because they have a plan in place, they're already taking steps to mitigate the damage. The next stage is eradication, where they focus on removing that malware from the infected computer.
Okay, so they're bringing in the digital cleaning crew to scrub that system clean.
Exactly. They might use anti-malware software to remove the malicious code, or if it's particularly nasty, they might need to completely wipe the hard drive and reinstall the operating system from a clean backup.
It's like performing digital surgery, removing the infected parts and making sure everything is healthy again.
You got it. But their work isn't done yet. They also need to figure out how the malware got into the system in the first place.
Right, because if they don't find the root cause, it's likely to happen again.
Exactly. They'll analyze logs, review email security protocols, and investigate potential vulnerabilities.
Right.
They might discover that the employee clicked on a phishing link in an email that looked very convincing, or downloaded a malicious file from a compromised website.
This highlights the importance of user education and awareness training. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Even with the best technology, human error can still be that weak link.
Absolutely. By understanding how the attack happened, the organization can take steps to prevent similar incidents in the future.
Oh,
They might implement stricter email filtering policies, provide additional training to employees on how to spot phishing attacks, or even simulate phishing campaigns to test their defenses.
so it's not just about reacting to the immediate incident, it's about learning from it and strengthening your overall security posture.
Precisely. And that brings us to the recovery stage.
Okay, this is where they get things back up and running.
Exactly. They'll restore any lost or compromised data from backups, bring systems back online, and ensure everything is functioning properly.
Okay.
But it's not just about restoring things to their previous state.
So there's more to it than just hitting the undo button.
Right. They'll also use this opportunity to implement any changes or improvements they identified during the learning stage. This might involve patching vulnerabilities, updating security software, or revising their incident response plan based on what they learned from this experience.
So they're not just bouncing back, they're bouncing back stronger.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway here.
Okay.
A well-executed incident response plan isn't just about putting out fires, it's about continuously improving and evolving your security posture.
This example really brings the incident response cycle to life.
Yeah, it does.
It's a dynamic process that involves technical expertise, strategic thinking, and a lot of collaboration.
It is. And it highlights the importance of having a clear plan, trained teams, the right tools, and a commitment to continuous learning.
And, like we've talked about, it's about more than just technology. It's about that human element.
Now you're talking.
Okay.
I think often the human element gets overlooked when we discuss cybersecurity, but it's absolutely crucial.
I'm so fascinated by that aspect.
Yeah.
So can we, delve a little deeper into that? Why is that human side of incident response so vital to success?
Absolutely. But before we get into that, let's take a quick break to recharge. We'll be back in a moment to unpack the human side of incident response and discuss why it's often the key to navigating these challenging situations effectively. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Before the break, we're about to dive into something that I find super interesting.
Yeah.
The human element of all of this.
It's so important. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical details, right?
Yeah.
Firewalls, malware analysis, intrusion detection systems.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's people who make or break an effective response.
Yeah. It's not just about having the right tools.
Right.
It's about having the right mindset,
Yes.
skills, and even the right team dynamics.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Imagine this.
Okay.
You've just discovered a major data breach.
Oh, no.
Stress levels are through the roof, everyone's scrambling, and there's that sense of urgency to contain the damage.
It sounds like a pressure cooker. How do you, keep things from just completely spiraling and ensure everyone stays focused?
Well, that's where a well-defined incident response plan and clear communication come into play. Everyone knows their roles, responsibilities, and who to report to.
So it's like having a captain steering the ship during a storm.
Exactly. A calm and decisive leader can make all the difference. But it's not just about leadership. It's about teamwork. Everyone on the incident response team needs to communicate clearly, share information, and coordinate their efforts.
And that communication extends beyond, the internal team, right?
Yes.
You've got to keep stakeholders informed, management, customers.
Absolutely.
Maybe even the media, depending on how severe it is.
Transparency is key. People need to know what's happening, what steps are being taken, and what they can expect. Being open and honest, even when things are tough, helps maintain trust and credibility.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, honesty is the best policy.
Right.
And that clear communication can also help prevent, like, rumors and misinformation,
Oh, absolutely.
which can often just make things worse.
You're absolutely right. And another crucial aspect of the human side of incident response is training.
Okay.
Not just technical training,
Yeah.
but also training on soft skills like communication, decision making under pressure, and even stress management.
Yeah, because dealing with a major cyber attack can be incredibly stressful,
It can.
both for like the individuals involved
Yeah.
and for the organization as a whole.
Precisely. It's like training for a marathon. You don't just focus on the physical aspect, you also work on your mental stamina and resilience. The
Mhm.
same goes for incident response.
Okay.
You need to be prepared mentally and emotionally to handle the pressure, make tough decisions, and stay focused under duress.
Yeah, and like let's not forget about post-incident support.
Absolutely. It's essential to provide resources and support to help people cope with the aftermath of a cyber attack. This could involve counseling, stress management programs, or even just time off to decompress and recover.
You know, this conversation has really like highlighted something for me.
Okay.
We often talk about cybersecurity in terms of technology and tools,
Right.
but that human element is just as important,
It is.
if not more so.
I couldn't agree more. Building a strong security culture within an organization is about more than just implementing the latest software or hardware. It's about fostering a mindset of awareness, vigilance, and preparedness among employees.
It's about making security everyone's responsibility, not just the IT departments.
Exactly. And that's a great segue into a question I often get asked.
Okay.
What's the one thing individuals can do to improve their own cybersecurity posture?
Oh, that's a great question. What do you usually tell people?
I tell them that cybersecurity isn't just about protecting corporate networks, it's about protecting your own personal data and devices as well. And one of the simplest yet most effective things you can do is enable two-factor authentication on all your accounts.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Two-factor authentication adds that extra layer of security by requiring you to enter a code from your phone or email in addition to your password.
Exactly. It makes it much harder for hackers to access your accounts, even if they steal your password. And another simple step is to be more mindful of the links you click and the files you download.
Right. Don't click on links from people you don't know or open attachments you weren't expecting.
And keep your software updated. Those updates often include security patches that fix known vulnerabilities.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay safe out there in the digital world.
Well said.
This has been a fascinating deep dive to the world of incident response.
It has been.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from like the technical aspects to that human element. It's clear that incident response is more than just like a set of procedures. It's a mindset, a culture, and a continuous process of learning and improvement.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.